Hej, jag heter Cecilia Bjursell och jag är professor i pedagogik på Högskolan i Jönköping och håller också i Nationellt centrum för livslångt lärande. Och här har vi min kollega.
Ja, jag heter Malgorzata eller Gosia. Jag är forskare och docent vid Stockholms universitet. Jag flyttade till Sverige 5 år sedan. Och innan jag arbetade på Wrocław universitet i Polen.
Och vi har känt varandra ganska länge nu, för vi ingår båda två i det europeiska nätverket för äldres lärande också. Och anledningen att vi träffas här idag, det är för att vi är båda två redaktörer för den här boken, Äldres lärande, utblickar och insikter. Och den här boken kom sig av att vi kände ett behov av att samla den forskning som finns i Sverige kring äldres lärande. Vi visste att det pågick mycket lärande runt om vid olika lärosäten, vi kände till varandras arbeten och så vidare. Och vi gjorde helt enkelt så att vi bjöd in de svenska forskare som vi kände till som studerar äldres lärande på olika sätt. Och resultatet blev den här boken. Och boken ger ett samlat kunskapsläge på området äldres lärande. Både vad vi vet hittills men också vad vi inte vet kommer ju fram genom ett sånt här arbete. Och en fördel med att göra ett sånt här jobb, att skriva en sån här bok, det är ju att forskning publiceras ju vanligtvis på engelska nu för tiden. Men den här boken är på svenska och den samlar också många olika perspektiv. Många olika ingångar på äldres lärande. Och det blir ett samlat kunskapsläge som jag sa, men det blir också ett avstamp för forskning framåt. Och sen har vi dessutom kryddat med berättelser där individer får ge exempel på hur de jobbar med lärande i sitt eget liv helt enkelt. Så att man ska kunna se hur kan det här se ut då? Ja, men då finns det med några berättelser också i boken som beskriver det här. But we're going to switch to English now because although you speak Swedish, you're more comfortable with using English as a language. So Gosia, how come you started doing research in this area of old adults learning?
The journey started many years ago actually. I have started my research about aging and learning and older adults 20 years ago. In Poland it started. First I started to do some research, to conduct the research at University of the Third Age, where I was teaching. And then I did also some research about older adults in local communities. I found it very interesting and important to do some research because I talked about double stigma, that we are also stigmatized because of age, but also of a place. And then I did also some research in Australia about men's sheds in Australia. But recently I did also a project about men and aging and masculinity. It was a European project with few countries. However, the main core of my research is about aging and migration. And this is what brought me here to Sweden actually. And 10 years ago, 12 actually, I came to Sweden for my first postdoc, and I did some study about Polish migrants, older Polish migrants in Sweden. And I was interested actually how people who moved to another country where they were not born, how they feel, how they negotiate, and how they learn to be in a place which they found a little bit different compared to the place where they used to live. And the reason for moving to another country, of course, can be many. However, many of them, especially the Polish migrants, they were forced to move to Sweden. And my interest was how people feel. How do they feel being here and aging in the country where they were not born. And the project is ongoing project, and I am still doing some research, and I am conducting some observation and collecting data. So it's a little bit also in the book about it. So this was why I was very happy to cooperate with you, because I wanted also to know more about the Swedish context and aging. I knew only from my Polish migrants' perspective, but I wanted to know more. And thank you for this invitation. It was a big pleasure to cooperate with you.
And thank you. It was a pleasure for me too, and to work with someone who is as experienced as you are in this area.
So what are our plans for the future?
When it comes to older adults, I'm intrigued. The book shows that a lot of the studies are performed in maybe not formal but semi-formal settings. There's a lot about the senior universities, or third age universities as we call them internationally. It's a lot about folkhögskolor and folkbildning as we call it in Swedish, settings where you expect learning to happen and you go there to learn, to meet other people but also to learn. So when I continue, I would like to look into more informal settings. And there are some people who look for courses and education and to participate in those. But I'm also intrigued by other settings that are not explicitly learning settings.
Yeah.
And how they interact and what they learn, because they learn there as well, but maybe they don't talk about it as learning. So that will be one part as I move forward. Another part that we didn't address at all in this book is older adults learning and working life, which I know you also have an interest in. And so that is, I have done a little bit in that area, but I will also continue to look at that, and also the bridge between working life and retirement, and the role of learning in all this. And the third area is intergenerational learning and the connection between generations that I think is interesting. And how about you?
I think we have, as you said already, some similar interests about aging and working life and retirement situations in Sweden, actually in the context of migrants maybe, and Swedes who are aging, and how do they deal with this retirement. This is one area which I am also interested in, but I think that I would like to do some research about women and aging, because I have done some about men, but now I would like to be more interested to see how women are learning, because I know that they are more located in the small communities, and what is going there, what kind of processes of learning are there, and also in the informal settings.
We have ideas and interests on how to move forward, and this book helped us to map the terrain of research on older adults learning. But if you look at the book as such, who do you think should read it?
I mean, I have already talked with some young people, and I found that they became very interested to read the book. So I think this is the book for young people who should learn more about aging, and learn about it, that around them, in their surroundings, there are older people, their parents and grandparents, but also neighbors. And because I think that we need more attention to notice, to recognize that older people are around us, among us. And it doesn't mean that we are young, that we will be young forever. One day we will get older as well. And this is my message to young generation, that it's a perfect book for them to learn about the aging from different perspectives. I have found all interesting to promote it also in older generation, because many older people, they are also need a kind of inspiration, or maybe a kind of reflection upon what is aging from different perspectives, what does it mean. So I think that the book is for both generations, as you said. The intergeneration, they can use it as a good start point for discussion about aging and learning.
Yeah, I agree. And also, of course, beyond the people who have professional interest in older adults learning, like teachers or gerontologists and those groups of people, I'm also thinking about a similar general public for the book, older and younger people, and to use the book as a material to talk about ageism, because that is an issue that we don't talk about that much in Sweden, but we have it. And being old is almost always connected to something negative. And there is so much happening later in life that is, some part of it may be negative, but other parts are very positive. And it's most of all a learning phase in life. It's not a phase in life where nothing happens. So a lot of things happens. And I think the book provides some input into such a discussion on this part of life that we actually don't know that much about yet.
especially when we are aging society, and I think that the issue about how to learn to be old is so important nowadays.
Yeah, thank you very much for having this brief discussion with me, and looking forward to collaborate with you in the future in different ways.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.